E.D.C, everyday commitment. That's right, commitment, not carry. Not carry. I'm not carrying it every day. Well, I am. I'm carrying the commitment every day. How do you stay on track when there's endless barriers that come up and get to your goal that you want to achieve? It's commitment, and there's discipline within that commitment. But becoming a dad, I lost so much free time. Free time I didn't even know I had. Not that I took it for granted. I knew it was good what I was doing, but I used to just go train jiu-jitsu 3 hours a night, 4 or 5 nights a week. And I just, if I felt like it, I'd go into the city and just walk around for 4 or 5 hours and shoot freely. That time's gone. I'm lucky to have maybe 2 hours a week where I can go train jiu-jitsu now. And going into the city and shooting, that doesn't happen anymore. I'm not saying it won't happen again, but it's just something I just don't have the time to do it. So I have to adapt to my situation and find ways where I can still get fulfillment and grow within these constraints and work around these barriers. So staying committed with photography for me, I predominantly would shoot street. And when my daughter came along, obviously my time, as I said, was diminished. I had very little time to go out and shoot. So I was also, I'd carry my camera everywhere I go. So even just around the house, you're home a lot more when you have a child, to start with especially. And I was just taking photos of her. So I was filling my cup that way. I was trying to get like artistic photos and just fun photos and document her life growing. And I've been doing that for nearly 3 years now. And I'd always wonder, how am I going to get my fulfillment out of shooting street when I have very little time to shoot, and just document Melbourne the way I was doing. And a big one for me was making sure I carried my camera everywhere I go. And I was like, well, if I carry it with me, at least when something comes up while I'm commuting or just out and about or wherever, I have it with me. That's my commitment. I just have to commit to making sure I have it on me. And then whatever happens outside of that, I then have whatever happens within that time that I have my camera, I then have control over the situation if I want to shoot it or not. Obviously, the window of capturing a volume of photos is diminished, but I'm still able to train my eye and get photos that I'm after just by being committed and carrying my camera on me. How I avoided feeling stagnant was, while I was commuting, I'd set up little projects for myself. Like, right, well, for a year I was just capturing on the same tram going to and from work. I was like, well, I'll just document everything that happens in between the tram rides and then getting to work. And then I started, obviously it's a very limited space and very limited run, but then once you start training your eye, you start to see all these things that come up, like abnormalities and just rare life happening around it. I was also on a tram line that, how would you say, it draws in very specific demographic, and those people usually carry on in various ways. So there's interesting shit happening all the time, which was lucky for me. So I was like, how do I get these photos, these candid shots of people in these spaces where they could see me pull up my camera and take a photo of them, and I have to either look through them and make make them feel like I'm not taking a photo of them, or end up expanding myself, going out of my comfort zone and actually having to talk to these people if I take a photo of them, and then they ask like, hey, did you take a photo of me? So there was growth within that constraint is what I'm getting at. And through that, once I moved on from that job, I was no longer capturing that tram. I was having other means of commute. I was like, right, well, how do I capture what I was capturing there? How do I translate that to what I'm doing now? And that became a commitment. It's like, right, the camera's already locked in. I don't have to think about that. It's part of me now. I bring it everywhere I go. But now the new project is, how do I grow from what I was doing, capturing photos on the 86? How do I get that and then divert that into something new? And then I was like, right, well, the route I'm taking, I'm going along this bike path a lot. And there was way less going on that bike path. But every now and then there was something that happened, or like going down, I'd go down Nicholson Street or something, or just off any streets around that bike path. And then there'd be something small that would happen. I was like, oh, great, like I got the photo. So then it becomes a game of, I guess I was expanding my awareness and my vision, and becoming more in sync and in tune with what's going on, because there's less going on. You have to keep your eye out more. And then that became a bit of a game for myself. It's like, right, well, I don't have the same luxuries and volume of what was coming on the tram, on the 86, but now I have this other focus where there's much less happening, but when something does happen, I need to make sure I'm there for it. So that became its own commitment, and it's staying focused. So it's a matter of, for me, it was a matter of finding these little games and projects within these constraints that allowed me to grow and stay on track and, I guess, focus in on a body of work. Even though I had loads of constraints around what I was doing, I could go out and get the same volume of photos in one day that I've been getting in a month. But those photos that I've been getting in that month time span now, I feel have, maybe not to someone else, but for me, which is most important, they have more weight to them, because I wasn't just out and about and I got 30 photos, and, well, not that you get 30 good photos, but I didn't just take a bunch of photos and like, great, that was one day of shooting. Like, that's great if that happens, but it's very rare that happens now. I'd be surprised if I got 30 photos over a month where it's like, oh, they're portfolio worthy, or like, go in the project. For a project like a zine or a book or an exhibition. But because those numbers are reduced, that's made me more focused and more hungry to then get better photos. And I seem to resonate with the moments better when I see those photos that I've taken, because there was more space for myself in between those moments. I was able to, I'm observing more than just being like running through and then shooting off and going on to the next scene. It's much slower pace. So I'm taking in more and then learning and growing with the surroundings, and having that commitment has allowed me to grow as a photographer, when I could have easily just put the camera down and been like, well, I can't shoot at the moment. I don't have time to go shoot. And in a way, I don't have time to go shoot, but I'm making it work within my constraints. And the same thing as documenting my daughter. She's running around all the time now. I'm like, how do I get these spur of the moment, these really fast little details that happen? How do I capture that? And I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't like carrying my camera with me everywhere I go, even within the house. Because there's moments she's doing something, and I was like, oh, I really want to, like, that's beautiful what she's doing. I want to capture that. If I don't have my camera on me, then I can't capture it. And if I have to go get my camera, I disturb the scene. So it's just a matter of always being committed to the discipline. And it doesn't have to be, if you've got these constraints, that it doesn't have to mean that you can't pursue that anymore. You just have to adapt and work around these barriers. So yeah, for me, a big one was staying committed with shooting, was having my camera on me. Documenting life at home is its own project, and then documenting my life outside of that, which in between work, the commutes is where a lot's happening for me. So like photographically. So I'm just trying to stay committed within those constraints, and over time that becomes its own body of work, and a goal will be reached soon. So just making things, even if they seem difficult and not accessible, they still can be accessible through those difficult constraints, is what I'm getting at. So that is everyday commitment. Thanks for today, fellas.